Episode 156 of the Interpretation Station is called to order. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. How are you all doing? You're perhaps all at this particular moment in time, because this particular moment in time is the 18th of December, 2022. It's now 7:22. The World Cup final finished roughly 20 minutes ago, and I'm feeling something of an emotional wreck after the whole experience. I must say, I didn't have any, what's the expression in English?
Preference?
There's like any horse in the game, any dog in the... I wasn't supporting any particular team, but I must admit, I did want Argentina to win. I wanted Messi to win, basically. And Jesus, what what a match, eh? Anyway, we are here today with this is a special episode for my viewers of the Interpretation Station with Chinese, with Mandarin in their combination. And I am joined today by two of my old buddies. We are joined from Barcelona in Spain by Pei Jun. Say hi, Pei Jun. And we are joined from, I think she's in Bonn. Are you in Bonn?
Yes,
we are joined by Zoe.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, Pei Jun and Zoe. So were you ladies watching the match?
I got too scared to watch.
You got too scared, huh?
Because I really wanted Messi to win, and I got to penalty shootout. I was like, oh my God. I couldn't watch it.
I thought he was going to miss the penalty in the shoot. I thought, oh God, he's going to miss the penalty in front of his own fans. And I just, oh God. But, oh man, unbelievable. Well, what about you, Pei Jun? Did you watch much of the match?
I didn't watch because I am not a big fan of Argentina, neither France. But I was driving, but I thought I have to get home before the match finishes, because otherwise it would be lots of Argentinians in the streets in Barcelona, because I think this city with largest Argentinian population outside of Argentina. So I was in a rush driving.
The biggest Argentinian population outside Argentina. It's going to be. So can you hear fireworks and things from your room?
Yeah, I wasn't watching, but I could hear every time there was a goal. I knew the goals were going, and because I could hear people shouting all the time.
Well, I live about 1 mile, 2 kilometers away from France, sort of in that direction. It's pretty quiet. It's pretty quiet.
I don't think there are many people supporting France. I don't think so.
Well, they're pretty quiet, as I say, because I live right on the French-Swiss border, and pretty quiet. But anyway, they won it in 2018. Come on, guys, you can't have it. You can't have it. Win it every time. So incredible.
And the boys are still quite young. They have their chances.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, France. I mean, Jesus, Mbappe scores like he's 23.
23.
He's 23.
Only 23.
Good God, unbelievable.
I actually think he is a better player than Messi and Ronaldo. He's like
he will be. I think that what Messi did there, the fact he won, I think he's now overtaken Ronaldo for me. I thought Ronaldo was going to be the greater player. I think now that Messi's scored 2 goals in a final and he's won the World Cup, I think he's just overtaken him. But Mbappe might overtake them all. So
I think so too.
Okay, well, that's football talk for you, but I'm sure you interpreters there, you haven't tuned in to listen to me, Zoe, and Pei Jun give our expert football analysis, but rather to learn a bit about interpreting. And the episode we've got, today what we've got in store for you is a Chinese statement by China. I'll let Zoe explain. You can start, Zoe, telling us what the viewers
right. So we're going to do the statement delivered by His Excellency Wang, the Foreign Minister of China, at the 77th session of the General Debate.
This year
in, I think, September 24th.
September, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So right. I was just going to say that I did the first half and Pei Jun did the second half, and we're going to review parts of that because the statement is pretty long.
The most interesting part, yeah, we're going to do about half of it. So what I'm going to leave the link to the original and to the transcript as usual in the description box under the video, so you can try the whole thing. We're going to focus, as I say, we're going to do a sort of edited version, focusing on the most interesting parts of the statement. And it's like we did, so me and the three of us, we have done a previous episode together. I think that was on the situation in Ukraine, and we were looking at Chinese statements delivered in the Security Council. I think they were actually like rights of reply or things. So you can see that episode here. I'm going to leave a link to that so that you can go and watch that. So this page, and just tell us some of the things that they cover in this episode, in the general debate statement.
I actually think this one is quite complicated because I followed a couple of speeches of Xi himself, the president of China. But when I was doing this one, I had the impression that, I'm not sure if Zoe saw the same, I had the impression that this one is longer and more complicated than the one that Xi used to deliver.
Yes, I think there's definitely more stuff in it, especially in Beijing's part.
The Beijing part's got perhaps the more interesting stuff,
yes,
because that's where we talk about Taiwan and that sort of part. But he covers, it's what are the main sort of the sort of key themes? A lot of general themes: global security, development, bit about climate change. But I mean, let's face it. I mean, the most interesting thing I think these days is like the situation concerning Taiwan,
North Korea.
North Korea, right?
There's a bit on Afghanistan and Palestine, but I don't think.
Yes, I think we skip that bit. But as I say, you can do the whole. It's like 20 minutes long. The whole thing is 20 minutes long, I think. So we have sort of condensed it down to the sort of 10 most interesting minutes, if you like. And
I think it's the first time. Sorry, I think it's the first time I say a Chinese speech delivered talked about the history of the issue of Taiwan, because before they only mentioned it, but this time it seems that they went into details. I'm not sure because Roland, for sure you were there all the time and you listened to what they talked, but this time is the first time I saw so much of a speech about Taiwan.
I mean, I don't really listen. I don't usually have to tune into the China speech because that's all taken care of by the Chinese booth. So I don't really know if they go in. Yes, I don't get much of that. But yeah, this seemed interesting because it was really sort of digging into the history, the historical background of the situation. So I learned quite a few new things that I didn't know. It's just in terms of general knowledge, it's quite interesting. We're going to hear about General Assembly Resolution, was it 2758? So that seems to sort of be the benchmark for everything that's going on. Okay, and what also? So this wasn't. So I was interested that it wasn't actually President Xi himself that delivered the speech. Does he come to the general debate ever, or does he usually sort of delegate it all to his foreign minister or whoever it may be?
I think last year he gave a video message.
Video, right?
Video speech, but last year I think most of the delegates tuning online. Yeah.
But has he ever come in person?
I think he used to go.
I think so.
He did.
Was it 2020 or 2019? I can't remember.
Okay, it would have been 19, I guess, because 20 was still a COVID year. Yeah.
He used to go, but this year, I think I read in the news, he had to choose between this one and one with Putin. I don't know, it has something like that. So apparently, that was his priority.
There you go. Yeah, because Putin didn't speak this year either. It was Lavrov, the foreign minister, who spoke this year. Okay, so without any further ado, let's get started then. So we're going to start with Zoe is going to be doing the first half. So we're going to, as we do usually, we're going to sort of play a sentence, paragraph at a time. Zoe's going to be analyzing her own work, saying what sort of things she could have done better. I'm going to be chipping in with helping you with synonyms, trying to give you a bit of background knowledge, acronyms, that sort of stuff. One thing I'm also going to be focusing on, because it's so very important with the Chinese, given the difference between the length of your average Chinese word and the length of your average English word. Obviously, it's a real challenge to keep up. It must be if you're in the Chinese booth. So I'm going to be looking at a lot little techniques just to where you can save time in the English, what sort of little shortcuts you can take. So with each paragraph, I'm just going to be just going at the once Zoe or Pigeon has spoken, I'm going to be looking at little micro shortcuts that when you add all those shortcuts up, it actually turns out that it saves you quite a lot of time and space. So anyway, we'll come to that. So let's get started then. Let's get started. If you could bring the text up.
Right. So before I get started, I just want to offer some general observation on this text, at least the first half of this text. I did it and I found it quite challenging because the Chinese text is so dense that I found it very, very difficult to keep up. So I actually tried several times before I could actually deliver it in one go. And I used the Chinese text. I didn't write down any English sentences, nothing like that. So it's more like sim with text. I didn't really do any.
To be fair, in the general debate, that's what it would be.
They actually read from the translated English text, so that'll be kind of fast. Yeah, so they have the translation because it's kind of expected that the foreign minister won't go astray, won't just like say something on his own. Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, I listen to them. Apparently, they're reading, but I think the control of speed for them is also hard because they have to keep the same speed when the speaker is speaking.
Exactly. So even after many attempts of my own, with just one slip of tongue, I would be like out of the game, basically. I would not be able to keep up, and I would be like 2 sentences behind with just
how fast was he reading? Was he reading just sort of regular?
I say his speed is faster than C's speed.
Oh, C is lovely.
Oh, right, right.
C is
this guy speaks faster.
slow,
okay.
And the text is not so dense. This one is, well, when you listen to it, at least when you listen to the Chinese original, you won't find it fast and furious. It doesn't sound like that. But when you're interpreting, you're like, why are you so fast? And it is really dense.
Okay, and there's a lot of info. Yeah, that's one of the things we'll be looking at. What parts of that that denseness can you cut through? That's one
exactly.
thing
So
to
I'm
look at.
looking forward to Roland's tips.
Yeah.
And the language is relatively flowery. And
there are a couple of interests. Yeah,
literally. Right. Sometimes I had a hard time comprehending the Chinese. It's just like the idioms because you would not say that in real life.
In English,
in real life,
and they don't, and sometimes they don't. They don't transpose very well to English. Sometimes some of these sort of literally, these little these flowers. It is quite flowery. So
right, and a lot of like forward idioms, and usually an idiom contains a load of meaning, but you don't have time to translate all of that. So you kind of have to pick the most important message and try to find just one English word to deliver that. Because if you try to describe that idiom, you're out.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what I wanted to say.
Your disclaimer.
Yeah, it's disclaimer. Yeah. So I'm just going to get started. Mr. President, dear colleagues, it is a time full of challenges. The COVID-19 pandemic is still spreading. The international security situation is full of strife. The global economic recovery is fragile and difficult. With never-ending risks and crises, the world has entered a new era of volatility. The great shift not seen in 100 years keeps evolving. Okay. Right, that's the first paragraph, and it's already quite challenging.
Yeah. So you said, full of challenges. I think is perfect. All right. I mean, I see the original in the English they give is fraught with challenges.
Yeah. I was like, I think the opening paragraph, so the first paragraph and the second paragraph is a bit Dickensian.
Yeah.
Like, A Tale of Two Cities.
It's a bit like that, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah, it's just the best of times, it's the worst of times, it's the spring of hope, it is the winter of
That's
despair.
it, yeah, perhaps.
Exactly like this.
Yeah.
The word he uses for fraught. Now, you see in Russian, there's a specific word that I have in the Russian that I always just go with fraught.
Right.
Okay, there's a word I recognize from Russian that I always say, oh, that's fraught. Fraught with challenges, fraught with difficulties. Is that the same here or not?
No, it's the same with full of. So, so this is translated as fraught with challenges, but the second paragraph, 充满希望, so well, same characters, full of hope.
Okay, so you can't.
Right, you don't really get any distinction.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. You said the pandemic is still spreading.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I like what you did there. Let's see. You said the world has entered a new phase. Maybe you want to say a new era. The world often enters new eras. Okay.
Did I say era? Sorry, I think I played it.
Oh no, you said era. Maybe you did say era. Okay, so sorry. I like that.
They used phase.
Yeah.
I used volatility. They use turbulence and transformation.
Yeah, that's good one-word way of summing those two things up. Yeah, a new phase of volatility, unpredictability.
Just two observations, because in Chinese, in this speech they use in the diplomatic occasions, they always use the era of turbulences and transformation. This is the first one. The second one they always use is this challenges or changes unseen in a century. I think these two phrases, I say them everywhere.
Oh, is that right? Are these sort of things they just repeat all the time, all over the place?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's worth knowing, right?
Right. Maybe that's
changes and challenges. Right.
The standard translation offered by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Yeah, this was in the Xi's speech was like that.
Yeah.
Right. You said changes unseen in a century are evolving.
I said the great shift.
Not
seen in a century.
Are evolving. Okay.
It's evolved. Yeah, because I find it difficult to translate 眼镜. 眼镜 is like changing, but the change is changing obviously doesn't make sense. 加速 is like accelerating. I don't know. Changes are accelerating. Does that make sense in English?
Yeah, changes. Possible? Yeah. Changes. What would we say in English? In English, you would say. We probably wouldn't be doing. We'd probably make an adjective. Unprecedented changes are taking place. We'd probably say it like that. But I think if that's the word, sometimes you just have to just use what you're given, and if they say changes are accelerating, then I mean, it's okay. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing I really want you to focus on, then, as we're going through this, as it is trying to get these little micro shortcuts, in particular. Like with the use of the present perfect, okay, like has done something or has been doing something, and also with things like ands, just looking for every little moment where we can just save a little bit of time. So if we look at that first paragraph, so we're at we're at a time fraught with challenges. Okay, the COVID pandemic. Okay, because it's the first time the COVID-19, you could probably just delete, the 19, the COVID pandemic. So keeps resurfacing, perhaps, is one way, you could just turn that into, because I guess in Chinese, I'm sure you don't have a present perfect or a present perfect continuous.
No.
So I would, in that sense, I would just keep it really simple. The COVID pandemic keeps resurfacing. Global security faces uncertainty. The global economic recovery is fragile, unsteady. So also these little, if I'm having to go really fast, these sort of ands will start disappearing, or I'll just be almost swallowing them. So I'll say something like, the global economic recovery is fragile, unsteady. Various risks, crises are emerging. These sort of, it's like I'm almost talking in bullet points. When I'm having to go this fast, I want you to think almost as if you're, not to replicate the style of the original speaker, but that you're almost turning it into a sort of business presentation. You're just turning it in, you're keeping the info that you need, but you're almost turning it into bullet points. So I'd say, as I say, global economic recovery is fragile, unsteady. Various risks, crises are emerging. The world end. I would probably get rid of that has, for example. Oh, sorry, hang on. Where has it gone? My pen. The world entered a new phase of turbulence, transformation, changes unseen and essential are accelerating. So that's the sort of style, just these little things. Okay, so look at that already. I've wiped out 1, 2, I don't know, I've got 5 or 6. Every time, little syllable here, little syllable there. And, you know, over the course of the statement, those are going to, you know, they're going to add up and they're going to be of real help to you, I think. Let's go on to the next paragraph.
It is also a time full of hope. Multipolarization, economic globalization, the digital revolution, and cultural diversity have deepened. Countries are becoming more and more connected and interdependent. Right, so I'm like halfway through. Yeah. So for the second sentence, I basically followed the order. I said, multipolarization. So it's one.
So I should just stop you there. So multipolarity.
Oh,
okay.
right.
Polarization it brings in a different
multipolarity. Right.
That gets the idea of people being separated from each other. So you want unipolarity, multipolarity.
Right. Multipolarity, economic globalization. So because for them this is more like a translation. So they added the world continues to move toward, which comes here, 深入发展, so it comes later, and here's a list. And basically, if you don't read from a text, then you've got to go from the list first, right? Yeah, I actually want to ask you about this. Our societies, so that's the official version, our societies are becoming increasingly digitized. I said the digital revolution as a noun because I can only put a noun here. Here, 社会信息化 literally means society and informationized. Well, 信息化 can be like maybe digitalization. Yeah. So will you accept this? Because in English, digitize meaning that you put something analog and make it digital.
But the idea is that we're seeing a digital revolution.
Yeah, so I was just wondering.
I think I mean, opposed to her, I would get it. Yeah, I mean, our societies are becoming increasingly digitized. I would get that. I think it's okay, yeah. But I think also if you say digital revolution is very much an in term these days. So I think that might sound, you know, you'd say something perhaps like we're seeing a digital revolution. The digital revolution is underway, you know, whatever.
Right, okay. Apart from that, I don't have much for the first half. Should I?
I was wondering this, the second part of the sentences you just said here, this 各国联系和依存, which are becoming even more interconnected and interdependent. Are becoming, I was thinking maybe if it was really quick, you can say countries are becoming more interconnected. I don't know if I would deliver too.
Oh, so again, this is a chart. Yeah, I mean, if he's going really fast, when you've got like a description that gives you more than like 2 things, and like, okay, maybe, you know, if you just say becoming ever more interconnected, and then, okay, if you decide in that moment, okay, maybe I can just drop into dependent because I need to keep up with the next sentence. You know, if I lose the next sentence, that might be disastrous. Whereas if you already think, okay, I've delivered a coherent sentence, countries are becoming ever more interconnected, you make that judgment call. It's like, okay, let me just go on to the next sentence so I don't lose him. So that is one of those things. They're basically adjectives, right? Interconnected and interdependent. One of the ways to save time is if you're having real problems keeping up, is to just start dropping adjectives. So this is an example of where, you could drop one of them. I think you could be forgiven if he's going really fast. You could be forgiven for dropping one of those.
Right. And I think really you just need interconnected and connected.
Whatever. I mean, as you know, it just depends at which moment you hear them. I mean, I think you could drop one or either or. You want one of them, definitely. You want to keep one of them, but yeah.
Yeah, because the reason is because, as you said, the Chinese words actually sometimes in this speech are not so easy to understand, because it took me a second to understand this connection and dependence. When I heard the Chinese, I could probably react to one.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, I would probably just go for one. Yeah. Let's go
Yeah,
on.
let's go on.
Before I sort of comment.
Right. Peace and development remains the theme of this era. All peoples long for progress and cooperation more than ever. Wait, sorry, should I comment?
Anything you want to say for yourself? I mean,
Right. Just as actually a small question on English.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I do see like all peoples like trying to stress that there are different like ethnicities, nationalities. So you use plural for people. So
yeah,
all peoples.
that could work. Yeah, all peoples, like all nations, all peoples. That's
Yeah.
There's a different all people. Yeah, there's a sort of slightly mutes me.
Yeah.
No, so there is a slight nuance difference between all people and all peoples. So all people is just like everyone, doesn't make any distinguish between who. But if you say all peoples, there's a kind of this
like people from different countries.
Different countries, different nations, different ethnicities. So there is a slight nuance in meaning.
So I think the Chinese original actually means people from all countries. So I think
all peoples. Yeah, I think you could be forgiven for. Yeah, that sounds fine. Right. That's fine.
Right. Yeah. So that's my only comment.
One thing I was going to say. So here I'm seeing the underlying trend. What is the Chinese word that's given for the underlying trend?
There's no underlying.
Okay.
And there was no.
There's no underlying. There's
no.
Just the era, the theme of the era. That's the original.
So I was going to give you a fancy synonym for that idea. The leitmotif. I think that's taken from German. Okay, the leitmotif of our times. Peace and development remain the leitmotif of our times. It's one of those words. Maybe you can't remember it to use it, but there's a good chance you're going to hear it as well. Right. So and if you hear it, you need to know what to do with it in Chinese. So it's just worth knowing that.
And leitmotif reminds me of another word, another German word that's adopted in English. Zeitgeist.
The zeitgeist of our era.
Yeah, I am from the German word. Zeitgeist.
Peace and development remain the zeitgeist of our era. Oof.
We're doing German now.
Good God. Okay, so one thing so here you've got there's quite a lot of opportunity here to do some shortcuts, right?
Yeah.
So I would read this like saying, okay, but we're also in a time full of hope. The world continues to move towards multipolarity. Economic globalization is deepening. Get rid of that. And our societies. Now, here you've got a lot of are becoming, getting, remain. So look here, are becoming, and remain. See, in English, you could basically say our societies are increasingly digitized. So get rid of the becoming. I don't think you're fine. Our societies are increasingly digitized, culturally diversified. Maybe, the way my bullet point presentation, I'm getting rid of the ands. Indeed can go. We don't need that. Countries are ever more connected. So get rid of the becoming. Countries are ever more connected, interdependent. You can say it that way when you're reading it in English. You don't. It's the way you sort of
the rhythm,
present
right?
The rhythm, exactly. Peace, development, remain. So again, you could just say are. I mean, okay, are, remain. The underlying trend of our times, the zeitgeist of our era. Around the world, I'd probably get rid of the people's call for progress, cooperation. It's getting louder than ever. You could probably get rid of the before. People for progress. I'm sort of swallowing these ands. So again, you can see there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 edits there in for those 5 lines. As I say, you should notice that has an effect, and it should just help you keep up with the speaker just that little bit more easily than you would otherwise.
How do we respond to the need of the time and ride the tide of history to create a community of shared future for mankind? China has a firm and clear position on it. Right. So for this one, I have no idea how to translate this. 回应时代的要求. So the official translation is respond to the call of our times. I think it's better than mine, respond to the needs of our time, because this 要求 means requirement, the request, need. Yeah, I like the call. Yeah, the call of
Well, if you're
our
going to use
time.
need, then the best thing to do with needs, the collocation is meet. How do we
Meet the
meet the
need,
needs of our
yeah.
times? That's a good
Yeah.
collocation to remember, is to meet needs.
Yeah.
I have always wanted to ask if in English you do say ride on the trend of history. This sounds a bit weird.
What
Yeah,
Zoe
I
said
said
was
ride
better,
the
ride on the
tide.
tide of history.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I
very
don't
good.
know
Ride on the
why
tide.
they say trend, because
Yeah, this
even
trend
in
is
Chinese
weird.
it's tide. It's the wave and the tide. The
Yeah,
image is the same.
tides.
Yeah.
That tide is what you'll ride on the tide of history, yeah?
Yeah. Right.
Okay, so I'll just say, so I would perhaps say this, how should we respond to the call of our times? Ride on the, again, with English, you want to use emphasis in your voice. That sort of off compensates for these words you're dropping. How should we respond to the call of our times? Ride on the trend of history to build a community with a shared future for mankind. China's answer is, again, here perhaps you can just
do one, pick one.
Just delete one of those why is it not working here? Sorry. Delete one of those adjectives, right? Okay, there we go. It's clear. China's answer is clear. Okay, so I'll just clear that.
First, peace, not war. Okay, I'm just going to stop here because I kind of like my solution to this. 要和平，不要战乱, because in the next few paragraphs, the first sentence is the same. So the structure is the same. 要 something. So literally want or need something. Want A, don't want B. That's the literal translation for every single first sentence for the next like 6 paragraphs or so.
Yeah.
So basically there is no subject in this sentence, and it's a topic sentence. So my solution is just peace, not war. So it's A, not B in English.
Yeah.
I think
I'm just thinking for context.
shorter.
Maybe does he in the Chinese? Does it? If you were to go word for word in the Chinese, how would it sound? How would it read?
So it's want peace or need peace. Don't want war.
Reject.
Right. Perhaps it's better to have the we need peace, not war. We need development, not poverty.
Right, because I was wondering, I don't want to use too many we's. Like who wants that? Who needs that? So I'm trying to avoid it. So
Right. I think in this case maybe it helps. I know I say like try and avoid weing. You shouldn't we too much, but the alternative, if you want to, what's needed is peace, not war. I don't know. I my sense is that it would just be fine if you just said we need peace, not war.
Also, if you choose to use a verb and the we need or we want, then you have to have a different verb all the time. So
I actually thought about another solution, but I think it's a bit informal, so I didn't use that.
Yeah.
Another solution is yes to peace, no to war.
That could work. Yeah.
Is that actually good?
Yeah. I can imagine.
You don't need any pronoun. You don't need we.
Yes to peace. No, I think under the circumstance. Again, it's all like under the circumstances, and I think under the circumstances, the difficulty. You could get away. It gets the message across.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just going to move on.
Sometimes you just have to use those. There's like a word in Russian, and the same word. It's a tricky one because the same word it can mean to отказаться for any Russian speakers. Depending on the context, it can mean to reject, to refuse, like to abandon, to refrain from, to abstain from. And the problem is that in English, whatever the noun is, you need to alter it slightly. You can't really use the same word in every context. You need to know when to say abandon or refrain from.
Yes.
And sometimes, like if I'm really stuck, and it's like, oh, I can't find it. Like I'll say, we need to say no to. Just say no. So say no to. It sounds pretty horrible. I mean, it doesn't sound horrible. It just sounds really well,
Not formal.
it's not great, but it just gets the mess that there's like sauver les meubles, as the French say. It's the last thing. At least it gets across the message that we
Like
don't
the
want
last resort.
it. We don't exactly.
Yeah.
It's like a last. We don't want it. So sometimes you have to resort to that sort of thing. So,
Right.
okay. Sorry. Go on.
Yeah. Let's move on to the metaphor.
Right. Oh yes. Here we
As
go.
pointed out by President Xi, peace is like air and sunshine. We don't feel it as we benefit from it, but we can't survive without it. Peace is the prerequisite for a promising future and the foundation for common security for all countries. Right, I'm just reading the kind of breaks it up a bit more
Yep.
compared to the official translation. Yeah. So they inserted this part, which I would never
Like
do.
air and sun. I mean, I think I think
because it's peace, like air and sunshine is. So basically, you have a delayed verb. So the air and sunshine is kind of inserts.
Yeah, I think
between-
that's one of those things that if you're in trouble, you could probably just leave it out. You just notice that peace is hardly noticed when. I mean, it's always better to have it in, but it's under the circumstances.
Yeah.
If you leave it out, it's not the end of the world.
Right, and this part 受益而不决，失之则难存. This is like classical Chinese. Yeah. So it was really hard to comprehend when you hear it without the text.
Right. The word I noticed you used prerequisite. What word was that for?
前提, that's the prerequisite.
Precondition, no?
Okay. So if that's the word, so again, that's like I was saying with fraught earlier on. I had that specific word in Russian. When I hear it, I just go fraught. So it's like again in Russian or French, there's a specific word. I hear it. That's prerequisite. Prerequisite. Yes. You can say precondition as well. Prerequisite's a little bit nicer, I would say.
Yeah. But it's quite interesting that they kind of that they are like more free with the translation here. Peace is crucial for our future.
Yeah.
Whereas the Chinese literally says peace is the prerequisite for.
You know what? In English, perhaps an native English speaker would more readily say peace is crucial for our future than he would peace is a prerequisite for our future. But the thing is, again, where we are, I like to, compartmentalize words. I hear this word, I just want like a robot, like a machine.
I want to automate things.
Exactly. You want it all, so that's fine. It's fine,
Yeah.
What was I going to say? Okay, it underpins the common security of all countries. You said it is the foundation.
It's the foundation because that's basically the Chinese word.
Okay, so just if that's the Chinese word, just go for it. Don't worry about trying to sound,
Nice
like famous Chinese author Sun Tzu. Is he that wrote Art of War?
Yeah.
Okay, or Confucius. You don't have to sound like Confucius. Just go with the just like a robot. You hear that word, that's my word for foundation. I'm going to say foundation.
Right.
So. Okay, go on.
Engaging in a war is like opening a Pandora's box. Inciting a proxy war can easily backfire. The pursuit of absolute security of oneself will necessarily undermine global strategic stability. We must handle disagreement through peaceful means and settle disputes through dialogue and consultation. Right.
One thing I'd say here is for war, you said that engaging in war, so a good collocation for war is waging. Okay, WW, waging war. Okay, that's I
was not, because waging a war meaning that you are, so this country is actually provoking a war, but it's not clear in Chinese. In Chinese, there is no verb, it's just noun, two nouns. So that's where the turbulence comes from. So literally it means turbulence and war and even conflict.
Yeah.
Okay, I see. I get what you're saying. Right.
Add a more neutral verb to match with war, because I feel like waging a war is like you are the aggressor.
Okay, yeah, I get what you're saying. I get the nuance. All I would again say is like under these circumstances, do you have the time to
I'd
really
say
break
no,
down those sort of
definitely no.
those niceties? And it's just, I'm saying it's just good to have as your just immediate go-to
Exactly.
collocation for war waging, just for me, because the W's work well for me. So again, if the speaker's not speaking so fast, and maybe you have that moment to think about it, but yeah. And then, okay, I like what you said, backfire, burn, rather than burning his own hands. Again, don't feel you have to follow the speaker down his own sort of literary journey. Backfire, and then let's see, was there anything, settling disputes? Those are sort of two good synonyms. Resolving disputes, settling disputes. Remember those two.
The UN Charter, settling disputes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
How might I read this then as an English speaker? Okay, where are we? So I'm just going to go. I mean, I'm just going from what's written in front of me. Okay. First, we must uphold peace, oppose war and turbulence. I'd get rid of that. And President, I'd probably say President. Have we mentioned President? No, this is the first time we mention him. I mean, yeah, maybe I'd delete Chinese if I'm going fast. President Xi Jinping notes that peace, like Aaron Sunday, is hardly noticed when we're benefiting from it. None of us can live without it. Peace is crucial for our future. Get rid of that. And it underpins common security of all countries. Turbulence and war can only open Pandora's box. Full stop. Full stop, right? Lots of, he who instigates a proxy war can easily burn his own hands. And that's it. So, you could maybe, instigating a proxy, he who instigates a proxy war can easily burn his own hands. Pursuing one's own absolute security only also cans. You could think of maybe cans are often things you can delete. Turbulence and war only opens Pandora's box. He who instigates a proxy war, here you maybe need it, can easily burn his own hands. Pursuing one's own security only undermines global strategic stability. Again, maybe I would get rid of the should. We remain committed to addressing differences through peaceful means, resolving disputes through dialogue, consultation. Like I said, I'm sort of swallowing these ands. I'm sort of saying them, but they're all sort of subsumed into the other words. Okay, let's go on.
Second, development, not poverty. Development is the key to solving all problems and bringing well-being to the people. We must prioritize development in the global agenda, create international consensus on development, protect the legitimate right to development of all countries, foster new drivers of global growth, and build global development partnerships so that the fruit of development can benefit every country and every individual in a better and fair way. Right, this is a very long sentence, the second sentence. I didn't really break it up because I think in the heat of the moment, I would just follow the speaker because I know the subject is the same. So it's just we need to do A, B, C, D, E, and whatever, and achieve a result. Yeah. Anything that
a couple of small things. So I'd say so. Solving. Usually in English we solve crimes. Okay, when it comes to matters of international disputes, resolve. Okay, resolve is the word, or settle. Okay, resolve tends to be better than solve.
Right.
Delivering a happy life to our people. So what was the Chinese word there? The expression.
幸福. So literally 幸福. Well, it can be happy. So I use well-being because I think
well-being. I think you used
Yeah.
well-being, didn't you? Yeah. Delivering
Because
well-being. I think that's better.
Previous episode we discussed this point, how to translate 幸福. 幸福 literally means happiness, but in international diplomacy you want a higher register word. So you told me that well-being.
Well-being.
It's a nice choice. So I'll remember that.
Good. Yeah.
And put that in practice.
One thing I was going to say here, okay, we should place something at the center. Okay, what's one word in English that? Okay, you said
prioritize.
it. Prioritize. Yeah. We should. We should prioritize development in the international agenda, right? There's some really good things. Uphold. So you said protect all countries' legitimate right with a right. Here it is perhaps up. Let me think. Yeah, protect all countries' legitimate right. Yeah, protect. Yeah, well, that could work. Protect or uphold. You got all those words, like protecting rights, upholding rights, championing rights, defend rights. All of them are good.
Right.
Let's see. Then you said, okay, build a global development partnership. Forge is a very good word. Also, if you can use, forging relationships, forging partnerships. That's a good collocation to have. Let's benefit the fruits of development. See that every country benefits more from the maybe we talk about reaping the fruit, reaping the dividends of development. Okay, these are good synonyms to both to have or to be able to recognize, because again you're going to hear these, like you're going to hear UK speakers using expressions like that, to reap the benefits, reap the rewards. Oh, that's what you hear. Oh, that's a good one. Reap the rewards. That's a good way of remembering, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because in Chinese speech they always the fruit, but it sounds a bit weird.
Well, yeah, but
yeah.
In English you often talk about the fruits as well. Yeah. So how might I say this? I'd read this out like saying something like, okay, second, we must pursue development, eliminate poverty. Development holds the key, to resolving difficult issues, delivering a happy life to our people. Place development at the center of the international agenda, build international consensus on promoting development. Again, this is like this list, right? What I was saying, like bullet points almost. Uphold all countries' legitimate right to development. We should foster new drivers for global development, forge global development partnerships, see that everyone in every country benefits more from the fruits of development in a more equitable way. Okay. There's not as much stuff there that can be deleted, but
unfortunately,
unfortunately, yeah, because it's quite a dense little para.
Third, openness, not isolation. As pointed out by President Xi, opening up is the path towards prosperity. Practicing protectionism will only trap oneself. Decoupling will only harm others as well as oneself. We must promote openness and inclusiveness, dismantle the barrier to the free flow of the factors of production, and protect the multilateral trade system with the WTO at its core to create an open world economy. Right, I just want to say one thing that I think I did well. The road or the way. So use the emphasis that you can only use in English, like the way is like the only way to.
I see what you did. No, you stressed the. That's
because in Chinese English. The road or the way that you have to go through. But you can just say the
that's
way.
It in English. You've got to take advantage of these things that the English language offers you, because we can put like emphasis into words which I actually don't have it really in Chinese, and so that is one very good way. It's the way, by putting the stress on that conveys that idea of it's the most important thing. So no, I like that.
So it might be weird if you say openness is the only way. It's the only way it sounds like it's only way, you can't go other ways. And I don't know if you don't stress on is there any other way? I
think with the only is okay. I think you could also use, the way they put the surest, we'd probably say the surest way, the only way. I think only would also work. But again, if you just like is the way, again, it still has that.
You can save some time. You can save time.
Exactly, that's the most important thing here, to save time. What else was I going to say? Protection. This is tricky. This protectionism can only boomerang. You said trap oneself, didn't you? Again, this is this backfire. I think this is I think you wanted that. You used it earlier, backfire.
Yeah, that's why I was like, oh my god, I need to find a synonym for this, because the Chinese original 作茧自缚, it's like you kind of put yourself in a cocoon that you trap yourself. Right. So that's kind of the image. That's why I
it seems to me the Chinese often warn against this kind of thing. So it's something that's important.
Yeah.
Image is an important thing to be, just to be ready for, that the Chinese will say this either backfiring, these decisions that backfire on you. And it's one word, it's one word, and often the equivalent in the foreign language may be 3, 4, 5 words. So it's, if you have that backfire just ready to throw in, that's going to help you a lot.
Right.
Okay, let me just tell you what I would have done here then. We must remain open, oppose exclusion. And
actually, sorry, I want to ask you.
Yep.
I said isolation. So this 封闭, so exclusion and isolation, which one do you think sound better, like in this context?
Yeah, I heard more isolation.
Yeah, maybe isolation, because exclusion is the idea that you're doing it to someone else.
You exclude someone
else, whereas
people.
isolation,
exactly.
the idea is that you're sort of choosing yourself to isolate yourself. So yeah, I think maybe isolation does sound better. Yeah. By this point now, I'd be saying, okay, President Xi, so get rid of that.
Yeah.
Pointed out that openness, probably just get rid of once. President Xi pointed out that openness is the way to realize human prosperity. And you know what, like an advancement, you could probably drop that. Okay.
Yeah.
Protectionism can only, boomerang and decouple. And supply chain disruptions will hurt both those who practice them and others. Yeah, this sentence is decoupling. What's the word in Chinese that you've got there for decouple?
So decouple is 脱钩, but here it's a full character phrase, it's not an idiom, 断念脱钩. I just use decoupling because I think when you talk about decoupling, it's economic decoupling, and there will be supply chain disruption as a result. So I just said decoupling will do stand that, because supply chain disruption might be like some natural disasters or some unexpected events that
I think they're talking about the supply chain, because they are, what's happening is the Western countries are talking that they want to not only depend on China in the supply chain. That's why they put it here, because before they only talked about the decouple. Maybe they want to stress on that. I'm not sure.
Does it seem to you to be an important word?
Which one's the decouple?
Decouple, yeah.
Decouple. I think that's the key word. I think
he does. Is that an idea that he will talk about a lot, or warn against decoupling? Okay, right. So you might want to say like protection can be backfire. Decoupling will cause supply chain disruption. Full stop. It will hurt those who practice them and others. Yeah. Okay. So if you think this is, again, that's one of those things you have to decide. Is that an important word, like for the Chinese, for the delegation? We should say true openness, inclusiveness. What's this? Yeah, I had. Hang on a sec. Okay, the inclusiveness. Tear down fences, barriers that hinder the free flow of factors of production. We should uphold the multilateral trading system with the WTO at its core. Endeavor to build an open world economy. Yeah, okay, so you just sort of again swallow those ands. Okay, let's go on, and I'll clear
that. Right.
So now we're jumping a bit, aren't we? Okay.
6. Equity, not bullying. Nations large and small should show mutual respect and enjoy equal rights. This is the first principle of the UN Charter. International affairs should allow participation by all countries. International rules should be set by all. No country in the world is superior to others, and no country should use its power and position to bully other sovereign states. We must actively advocate for and practice true multilateralism, promote the equality in rights, rules and opportunities of all countries to create a fair, just, new international relationship based on mutual respect for win-win partnerships.
Okay.
This one is quite hard.
Yeah. The last sentence is crazy.
The sentence is definitely crazy. The last one, like trying to maneuver the adjectives so that they actually fit the English structure. I just want to say that the UN Charter is absolutely important. Like countries large and small.
Nations large. You said nations large and small.
Yeah,
I don't have it, but that's large. It's not big and small. It's large and small.
Yeah.
So that's definitely he's definitely referencing the charter there. Yeah. So that's very important. Large and small.
Yeah, and just an observation. I don't think it's a break it or make it issue here, but in Chinese, so for country, nation, state, it's all one word. 国家.
Right.
It's the same thing. But I think here, nation is the best word. Country is more like a geographical concept. Nation is slightly more political.
Stronger,
State is
yeah.
like government.
Yeah.
But nation is like something between the geography and the government. So I would actually pick nation.
I wouldn't lose sleep over it though. I wouldn't
Exactly,
lose
but just
sleep
an-
over it. But there is a
just an
difference. There is a
observation.
difference. Yeah. But if the first thing that comes in is country, just good.
Yeah,
no
the
one's
first-
going to stop you for that
Exactly.
sort of
Yeah.
level of detail. Just a word for bullying. What's the word for bullying in Chinese?
霸凌, so that's here.
Yeah.
Okay.
霸凌.
And is that your
here
go-to?
again,
Is that
霸凌.
your go-to solution for that word? Bullying?
Exactly. Do you have other suggestions?
Intimidation. So
Intimidation.
intimidation is I would almost say is a bit more higher register. Bullying,
Yeah.
Bullying's good. I mean, I'm not against it, but I associate bullying like bullying at school. Kids bullying each other.
That's what I get. But for intimidation, so if it's English into Chinese, I would say 恐吓 in Chinese. So it's like a different word, slightly different.
Okay.
And I feel like intimidation. I don't know.
This is the thing, but
Yeah,
even though I
it's like
say that, even
threat.
though I say that intimidation is higher register than bullying, I think bullying also has, it's quite a good word at the same time. It works quite nicely as well in this kind of context. So it's just basically just to have that synonym, bullying, intimidation, have those two sort of words as a
Right.
semantic field, as they say. And then, okay, just so you said no country should use its power. So, abuse, misuse,
Right.
okay, as synonyms. So I might read this as, let's see, we must uphold equity, oppose bullying, mutual respect, equality of countries, large and small, as a primary principle of the Charter, the UN Charter. Probably need to say UN Charter, because it's the first time. Major international issues should be handled by all countries. So again, this is like classic, like full stop. International rules should be drawn up by all countries together. No country is above others, full stop. No country should abuse its power to bully other sovereign countries. We should promote and practice true multilateralism, promote equality of all countries in terms of rights, rules, opportunities. See, that and can be dropped. Build a new type of international relations featuring mutual respect, equity, justice, win-win cooperation. So just hack through all those ands, okay? So you've already, there you go. You got a few sort of words that you can sort of cut through in there. Okay, let's go on. Oh, no country is superior to others, is above others. I noticed that. That's good. That's good. Yeah.
Superior.
Yeah, that's good. That's nice.
Slightly longer in terms of syllables.
Right. A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. Can you clear that? And we need to skip ahead a bit as well.
Yeah.
China is always the builder of world peace. We actively promote the cause of international peace by taking part in international arms control, disarmament, and non-proliferation. China is the permanent member with the largest number of peacekeepers. China is also the second largest contributor to the UN regular budget and peacekeeping budget.
Stop there.
China is
Let's just
also
break
the
this up
only
here.
country in the world that has
Yeah. Okay. China. You say China is so this is a good example of how you turn that just into a present. Okay, so just ditch your present perfects and your present perfect continuouses, whatever it is. So China is a builder of world peace. Turn that into an is, right? We actively promote, again, just get rid of the have. We actively promote the cause of international peace and participated in international arms control, disarmament, non-proliferation process. And now this is an important concept. Okay, top contributor of peacekeeping personnel. This is important because do you know the expression, the acronym TCCs?
Yeah, TCCs and PCCs, right? PCCs
and PCCs. Do you know that, Pejun?
Yeah, something to do with peacekeeper personnel.
Yeah. So Zoe, do you?
So troop contributing countries.
Troop contributing countries.
And PCCs is
police. To be honest,
Okay.
you don't hear the PCC much, but certainly the TCC. If it's to do with New York peacekeeping, you'll hear TCCs a lot. Troop contributing countries, and you know what? I would just, under this kind of pressure, I would just go straight in with the acronym. I would say China is the top TCC. I would just say China is the top TCC among permanent Security Council members. Okay, so that's a very important concept. Okay, the top. I'm just underlining this for.
Right. Just want to add, TCC is 出宾国 in Chinese. PCC is 出境国 in Chinese, because you often hear that from Chinese delegates. 出宾国, 出境国. They often come together. So PCC and TCCs, TCC and PCCs. Yeah.
And both of these are peacekeeping personnel.
So
personnel, troop contributing personnel, troop contributing countries, police contributing countries.
Yeah. I just said peacekeepers here. Does that work as well?
Of peace, I mean, in the context, it's fine. The way you sort of said it's fine. Top contributor of peacekeepers you could probably say among the P5, the permanent members of the UN Security. You could probably get away with saying among the P5.
Right.
P5 are the permanent 5 Security Council members. Second largest funder of both the UN and its.
I said the regular budget, right? I think that's the.
Does he actually mention the regular budget?
Yes, exactly.
But
I actually Googled how to say that.
But I don't think that the peacekeeping operations are funded from the regular budget. He does say so in the Chinese.
So two things. So the second largest contributor to the regular budget and to the peacekeeping budget.
Oh yes, because they're separate. You see, they are separate. So peacekeeping missions, this is just a general knowledge, aren't funded from the UN regular budget. They're funded from there is an expression like that, some sort of external sources. But was there anything else? Anything you wanted to say, Zoe, for that bit? Or
no, I think it's just the terminology.
Yeah. Let's go and do the second half of that paragraph.
It's also the only country in the world that has written the pursuit of the path of peace and development into its constitution. It is the only nuclear power state that commits not to use nuclear weapons first. China has made great contribution to international strategic stability. Right. Yeah, it should be nuclear weapon states.
So nuclear weapon state, is the only one of the 5.
I said nuclear power states. Is it nuclear power states?
No, nuclear weapon states. Nuclear weapon state.
You got is with electricity.
You could, but you can say only one. You can actually say the only one of the nuclear powers. Yeah, you could say that. The sort of set phrase is you got nuclear weapon states and non-nuclear weapon states. So it's important to try and remember them just like that. That's one easy way. They're either the nuclear weapon state or non-nuclear weapon state. Another important thing here is this idea: no first use, of nuclear weapons. That is a very important concept. That's like the doctrine of, there's a whole controversy now with what's going on in Ukraine about whether the Russians or the Americans are changing their doctrine on the using nuclear weapons. So that's a set phrase, like no first use of nuclear weapons. So that's very important there. One other thing I was going to say, to write into its constitution, you want the word has enshrined. It's an important word, okay? The way maybe it's because in the Chinese you hear write and then into its constitution, but again, you want to remember the idea of enshrining something in a document, okay?
Yeah, the Chinese is actually more like enshrined, to be honest, because this word is not literally to write.
Okay. So then maybe
it's a higher register word that means to write in this context.
Okay.
So
I would maybe do this paragraph. So China is a builder of world peace. You get rid of the present perfect. Get rid of present perfects. Okay. There's the main lesson for today. We actively promote the cause for international peace. We participate in international arms control, disarmament, and non-proliferation. China is the top TCC. So just compress all that among the P5. You could get away with saying that. I think it's the second largest funding contributor to both the UN and its PKOs. There's a cheat for you. There's a shortcut: peacekeeping operations, PKOs. China's the only country in the world. Notice how eliding. Is it called elision? China's the only. It's one syllable, but they all add up, right? China's the only country in the world that pledges to keep to a path of peaceful development in its constitution. It's the only one of the 5 nuclear weapon states committed, see in English, you just get rid of the that is, committed to no first use of nuclear weapons. China's, you can elide that. China's thus made an important contribution to maintaining global strategic stability. Okay, just lots of little things, these elisions that can save you, little syllables here and there.
Great.
Let's go on, all clear?
All peoples. China is always the protector of international order. We always champion the purposes and principles of the UN Charter and protect the international system with the UN at its core and the international order based on international law. China takes part in multilateral affairs in all aspects and has joined almost all universal intergovernmental international organizations and over 600 international conventions.
Stop.
We have signed over 20...
Split it up, okay.
It's a mouthful.
Yeah.
Right. I have 2 observations. The first one, I think defender is the correct word. I said protector.
I think protector's fine though. I think
really,
I think
defender
maybe defender is a little bit better, but
yeah.
I think you could be forgiven for saying protector.
Okay. Yeah, and the second one is actually a question. So in Chinese, 普遍性政府间国际组织, this is the first time that I've heard of this. Sorry for that.
Yeah.
So I just I did a literal translation almost like this. So universal intergovernmental either international organizations. Is this a thing? What is the universal intergovernmental?
Intergovernmental organizations, yeah. I mean,
But
that's
what is the
a
universal?
Well, it's just like a world at a global level.
Okay, so it's a thing. Okay.
It's a thing, intergovernmental organizations, like the UN and the WHO.
Right.
These are all intergovernmental organizations, I guess, as opposed to maybe regional.
Oh no, I was not asking about intergovernmental, but what comes before universal, because I find it a bit weird when you say.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think when they say universal, it means world.
Right.
Because like WHO, WTO, they are world.
Right.
So maybe
Yeah,
that's just
probably. Yeah, it got me a bit confused because in Chinese there's already international organization here. So I don't get it. What's the universal international organization or what's the non-universal international organization? Anyways, yeah, I'm just
because I mean the UN is called the universal. Sometimes it's known as the universal organization. So I think the emphasis is on it being global,
right,
as opposed to regional. I think, my guess. So again, so you said China is a defender, so that's good. You got rid of your present perfect there. We are committed to upholding. That's a classic thing where you can just condense that into like saying, well, we champion. Did you say we champion the purposes
I said
and principles?
we champion. We just
all this thing can sort of be condensed into
we champion the purposes and principles.
Yeah, into one. Yeah, just get rid of the we're committed to. Just we champion. We uphold the purposes, principles of the UN Charter. By this point, you can drop the UN because we've already mentioned the Charter once. Of the Charter, the international system with the UN at its core. This is interesting. So I think this is a thing you need to know. This is important. Okay, the international order based on international law. This is as opposed to. Do you know what this is? There are 2 competing visions in the world now on how international relations should be run. So one is this, and what's the American ones want?
Really, that's an American version.
It's another system.
The rules-based order.
Rules-based order.
So I think there's the international law-based order versus the rules-based order.
I thought it's the same.
No. Don't ask me to tell me exactly what the difference is. I think the international law-based order is more closely based on the Charter, on what's already, whereas the rules-based order, I think it's taking it a next step. It's like sort of drifting away almost from the Charter. But again, not 100% certain, but these are sort of two. It's like the international law-based order versus the rules-based order.
This rules-based order I always heard in the American speech or Australia, because they would call China like an interrupter of a rules.
The rules-based order, yeah. Because again, they're two slightly competing visions of this. So it's an interest. I mean, I think it's quite interesting to read exactly what the difference is. But so in what you could have said, you know, basically the international law-based order would sum that up rather than the international order based on international law. But anyway, the important thing is to be aware of those two different visions: the rule-based order versus the international law-based order. Okay, what else was there? Okay, as a part, you said joined over 600 international conventions. Perhaps you would, has acceded to. That's a good collocation you want with conventions, to accede to a convention, or lower register signed up to.
Yeah.
Joined is fine; it does the job, but you want those good synonyms. Acceded is being the best one. Okay, do the other half of the paragraph.
Right. We have signed over 27,000 bilateral treaties. We are fulfilling our obligations to the international community in good faith. China always abides by the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. We work tirelessly to protect and strengthen the cause of human rights in China, while standing firmly against any attempt to politicize human rights. We also promote the healthy development of international human rights cooperation.
Good. You're breaking up into those little sentences. It works very well.
Awesome.
Okay, yep. So deliver in good faith on its obligations. That you said deliver, right? Or what did you say? Or fulfill? You said fulfill, like the original, right?
I said fulfill obligations, I think. Yeah.
Again, that's a crucial thing to have a few synonyms for. I deliver a lot. Live up to its obligations. Make good on one's obligations. Again, I'll, for interpretation station fans, I say these things all the time, these synonyms. I repeat them like a broken record, but I suppose that way, hopefully you'll remember them too, and they'll sort of sink in if I say them often enough. It's concluded more than, yes, you said signed more than 27,000 treaties. What else have we got here? Did you say China abides by?
Yeah, I think I use the same word.
Yeah, that's good. That's like adheres to the Universal Declaration, complies with similar, works tirelessly to protect and strengthen. Is that, you said that right?
Yeah, I said tireless. They use relentless efforts.
Or does its utmost. Whenever you have something that often they'll try and use different images in other languages, and often if you just sort of see that, okay, I have to work really hard, okay, just do your utmost, and that will often fit in a lot of these sort of different cases where these expressions are used. Does its utmost to protect, strengthen human rights. Okay, so how would I read that paragraph? Let's see. I would say something along the lines of, so China is a defender of the international order. We uphold, to get rid of the committed to, we uphold the purposes and principles of the Charter, the international system with the UN at its core, and the international law-based order. China is involved in multilateral affairs in all fields. It's a member of almost all universal. There's IGOs is an acronym, by the way. If you have your IGOs, that's an internet governmental organization, and is a party to over 600 international conventions. It's concluded more than 27,000 bilateral treaties and fulfilled in good faith its international obligations. China abides by you could say the UDHR. I think that's acceptable. Shows good knowledge, especially if you're in an exam, you can just reel off the UDHR. That's pretty impressive. Has made relentless efforts to protect, strengthen human rights. Get rid of the it's here. China is, again, at the same time, this is a sort of expression, a sort of almost throwaway expression at the start of a sentence that you can maybe sort of just be tossed. China's firmly against attempts to politicize human rights, has worked to advance the healthy development of international human rights cooperation. Okay, Again, just lots of little things. Any questions before we move on to Pei Jun's half?
No.
I don't have any.
Okay. Oh, but it's here international obligations, right? Synonym for obligations?
Duties. That's a
Mm,
bit weird.
better one than that. Commitments.
Right.
Think of
Yeah.
commitments and obligations as a sort of pair, you know?
Yeah.
Remember them as a
Yeah,
pair of
commitment is
synonyms.
such a versatile word in English.
Yeah, it is.
Sometimes
It
it's
is.
quite difficult to find a fitting Chinese translation because it's not one-to-one. It depends
Right.
on the context.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's always a tough one. And stay committed is a tough one to translate into Chinese.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's always very versatile. You can just throw
It's
it
very
in.
good when you're going into English. Yeah. You can certainly use it a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so Pei Jun, let's move on to your half. So if the viewers at home don't panic, we just got a different Pei Jun's presentation here. It's on a different file. So okay.
As a developing country, China will always stand by the side of other developing countries. We are very delighted for the rapid progress of developing countries. We will continue to stand up for these countries and address their difficulties. We firmly support developing countries to have more representation and say on international stage.
Stop. Okay, good.
Yeah, let me see where was so here they have this one is because I didn't actually read what they write.
Yep.
I just went on because I knew they would have lots of words, and if I listened once, but I didn't really read it.
Okay.
Because I thought I would not remember the complicated words they use anyway, so I wanted to keep speed with the speaker.
Right.
So I just went on. So today's the first time I actually read it to help them. Okay, so we are hearted. I think I said we are
Heartened.
delighted.
Yeah, you said
heartened.
we're very delighted. I mean, yeah.
We continue to and help them overcome difficulties and fully support efforts in I think it's okay, but here so you can see this tool is this idioms they use. I just said address the difficulties, I think, but they
I think you said something for the first idiom 仗义直言, which I find quite good. You stand up for them. Did you say that for the first part?
Yeah, I think I said stand up for them and address their difficulties.
Yeah, I think that's sufficient and that's quite clear.
Yeah, okay, then.
So one thing I would just say, so you say, okay, heartened, we are delighted. If, obviously they are, if nothing else comes to mind, we are pleased, we're very pleased.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can't always find that that perfect word. So, feel free, to say we're very pleased. What else was I going to say here? Okay, to speak up. Okay, right. So he said speak up for, you said stand up for developing countries. Yeah. For overcoming difficulties, good to have synonyms there. Overcome, you said address is the most basic go-to one. You can surmount difficulties, overcome difficulties. So that's another good synonym to have. Yeah, that's good, right? You said on the international stage, developing in the international stage, which I think is fine. Yeah, I don't know what's the word in Chinese that they use for affairs, for international affairs.
Sorry.
What's the word?
International affairs.
Okay.
Yeah, they have international affairs.
I mean, what you said on the international stage, yeah, it's good. If you're going very fast, I mean, it's fine. Okay. Let's hear the second half of the paragraph.
Countries should not be the silent majority. China will unite with its countries and call for justice. We will continue to cooperate with each other and safeguard justice and equity. Yeah, this the part I think it shouldn't too much end. And in the And we have become a pillar of promoting development, cooperation, and safeguarding equity and justice. I wouldn't come up with this, so I just went on with what they were saying at that moment, which was call for justice, cooperate with each other, and safeguard justice and equity.
You missed, I mean, the word they use for pillar, what's that word?
Yeah, the last one, but like I wouldn't say
I see.
They
don't use that till the end.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. So again, you sometimes have to ad lib. You have to sort of paraphrase. I mean, you want to avoid paraphrasing, but I generally, as a general rule in interpretation, but I get it. The way the syntax is structured in the Chinese. I mean, sometimes you have no other option but to sort of play around with it a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's see how I would have, where could we sort of do some shortcuts here? So as a member of the developing world, China will always stand together with other developing countries where allied. We're heartened to see rapid progress achieved by the developing world in recent years. Full stop. We will continue to speak up for other developing countries, help them overcome difficulties, fully support efforts in raising the representation and say of developing countries in international affairs. Developing countries are no longer the silent majority in international and multilateral processes. Again, I think there's perhaps a case to be made for dropping one of these adjectives. With stronger solidarity among ourselves. China, I know what they say. You probably just drop the we, for example. Just I know that's in some language we have. They have that device as well in other languages. I think you can just drop the we. China and other developing countries speak out for justice. Again, the present perfect. You can try and just cut. Speak out for justice. We have become. We are a pillar. Just turn that into we are a pillar for promoting development cooperation, safeguarding equity and justice. Again, I'm just cutting that based on what's in front of me. So just to give you ideas for the kind of places where you can edit.
China has always been a provider of public goods. Facing COVID-19, China has worked with many countries and international organizations. We provided materials and shared our experience. We are the first countries to provide vaccine as public good and support to waive intellectual property rights on the vaccine. China has provided more than 2.2 billion vaccines to international organizations and countries.
Yeah.
I think I lost one. This number 120.
I think you said to many. You said, what did you say? Many. Is that what you said? To many countries and international?
Yeah, I said this 2.2 billion.
Yeah, you got the 2.2 billion, right?
Yeah, but I missed the first, I think.
Yeah, I mean, when you do that, if you miss the number, you just say, I don't know, many. You have to, say something. That's the one. It's all like a coping strategy, right? When you miss numbers, how can you express the number in such a way as it still comes across sort of naturally? So to many countries and organizations.
Yeah, also I was going to ask you about we can provide the materials because they have supplies.
Supplies, anti-pandemic supply. But see, materials isn't quite. What's the word in Chinese?
物资
No, goods. How would you say it? Sorry.
I would say like my first reaction would be material as well, but I know it doesn't really fit here.
Okay.
I know because of the translation. I think supplies is a good way to say it, or resources, but I think supplies like fit better in this context.
Right. I think supplies sounds better, but again, if that's the actual word is usually you render it as material. Again, under the circumstances, it's forgivable. I think, supplies is better. They often, anti-pandemic.
And I would
equipment, mate. Equipment. Would that have the same idea?
That's a bit different. I think it's a bit too
specific
equipment.
Yeah, medical equipment.
Yeah, and it's something that's a bit bulky if you talk about equipment, but supplies that can be anything like
supplies.
Masks. I wouldn't say that it's an equipment. Yeah.
Again, supplies is probably better, but again, if that's the word that you almost always render as material, then it's perfectly understandable.
Yeah, here I would just say COVID supplies. I think that's
Oh yeah, COVID.
not
Yeah,
anti-pandemic supplies. You don't need anti because you're not going to support a pandemic.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, you got to think on your feet like that. That's exactly. Anti-pandemic. That's like 5 syllables.
just COVID
too. So, what was I going to say? Was there something else I was going to say here? You say shared our experiences, shared our practices. Yeah, you want to get best practices. Is that what's the word for practices?
I said shared our experience because here is share anti-pandemic experience.
Literally.
Is it the word for experience again? In that case,
Yes.
you can't. Again,
Yeah.
under the circumstances, it'd be fine. So I might say here, China is a provider of public goods. In the face of COVID-19, China has made an all-out effort to, again, I'd probably say, has done its utmost to advance and get rid of one of these verbs, advance global cooperation against the pandemic. We've done our best to provide COVID supplies, shared our practices, shared our experience of combating the virus. China was among the first to promise making vaccines. You could probably just hear, because it's all in the context, right? We all know what the vaccines are for. So again, think on your feet here. We've already mentioned the COVID, it was among the first to promise making vaccines a global public good, support waiving intellectual property rights on the vaccines. I'm just wondering, intellectual property rights, is there an acronym IPRs?
IPR. It's just IPR.
Have you heard it? Have you heard
Yeah,
that?
I think it's quite common.
See, that would be a really handy acronym. I think, all these acronyms, even those ones, anything goes under these circumstances, really. So if you were to just pull out IPRs, then why not? On the vaccines. Yeah. China provided over 2.2 billion doses of vaccines to more than 120 countries and IGOs. Oh, no, okay, no, not IGOs, no. And because it's not quite the same thing, and international organizations. Okay, go on to the next one.
Development problem of the world. President Xi Jinping has promoted a high-quality One Road, One Belt project, which is welcomed around the world with 149 countries and 32 international organizations. China has signed cooperation documents, and we created AIIB and the Silk Road Foundation. This is the most comprehensive and inclusive international cooperation platform.
Okay.
I checked this banks. It can be called AIIB, but
IB.
Silk Road. AIIB, right?
Yeah, I must admit, is that what it's called? The Asian Infrastructure. I was thinking you said the IB, and I must admit that actually, I was like, I wasn't certain. Then I realized, okay, investment bank. So I know I just said use acronyms wherever you can. Here, I don't know. I think maybe on this occasion, maybe someone in the audience might not know immediately what an IB is.
Because it's not like a famous one.
Yeah. So yeah.
I mean, so if you have time, you should. I think I just didn't have time, so I went for the short one. But
what did you say? You said we've set up the Asian Infrastructure IB. Is that what you said?
I said just the AIIB. I think.
Oh, is that what you said? Yeah, right. You maybe want to say something like the Asian Infrastructure IB. Maybe that would work if you said the Asian Infrastructure IB. That gives it a little bit of context.
Yeah.
One thing I was going to say, the high quality, you said the One Belt, One Road. Is it not just the Belt and Road project? Is it called One Belt, One Road in English?
Sorry, I was muting myself. Sorry, I was saying that the official English translation is Belt and Road. Initially, it's like Belt and Road Initiative, but I think they changed initiative for some reasons. I forgot what it was changed to, perhaps cooperation. But the Chinese original is One Belt, One Road.
Yeah, because I think the Russians sometimes refer to it as that one belt,
One
but I
road.
think in English it's like
It's Belt and
you
Road.
usually hear it just Belt and Road,
Yeah.
whatever project
okay.
initiative. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I saw it in the Chinese diplomatic documents. I never checked it in any English one, so that was what the Chinese one.
Right. You said has been widely welcomed by the international community. That's good. Yeah,
I hear
endorsed,
it's
welcomed,
endorsed.
commended by. Again, that's a good group of synonyms to have. Commend. How might I do this? So, in response to challenge, tough challenges. Yeah, at this point, the other thing is like again, if you're under real pressure and you're in a degraded mode, as the expression goes. In response, adjectives sometimes have to be dropped. In response to challenges confronting global development, President Xi proposed to advance high-quality Belt and Road cooperation, an initiative that has been, just delete that, an initiative widely endorsed by the international community. China signed cooperation, just get rid of the has, signed into cooperation documents with 149 countries, 32 international organizations. We set up the Asian Infrastructure IB and the Silk Road Fund. Thus is the sort of thing that can probably be dropped. Building the most extensive. Again, look at this list of adjectives. Okay, extensive, inclusive, and largest platforms for international cooperation. You could definitely drop one of those. If you're in real trouble, drop both of them. Try and get one. At least try and get one out of the three. But that's a typical example when they have a list of adjectives there that you can drop one or two if you're falling behind.
Aid to developing countries. China has always been a mediator of hotspots. As a responsible major countries, China is exploring and provide a Chinese approach on hotspot issue. We do not interfere on other countries' international issue, and we respect the need and will of these countries, and we adopt programmatic approach and address the root and syndrome of the hotspot issue. We support all the countries.
Okay, stop.
Efforts on.
I think it's too much we and, but I just have this when I got under pressure.
When you're under pressure. No, that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say, so approaches to, you said, solving hotspot. Oh, you said approaches to hotspot issues, didn't you?
Yeah.
I think actually, you just dropped the word, in fact, the verb, which I think is okay. Under the circumstances. I was just going to say that, generally resolving, I said before, resolving is better than solving.
Yeah.
Then I was also non-interference in the domestic affairs. You said issues, so this is very much a set phrase. Okay, non-interference in the domestic affairs of other countries. So you should really remember that as a package.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interference
in the domestic affairs. So that's very much a set expression. I
was wondering what's the difference in the interfere and intervene and the other.
Non-intervention. In domestic non-intervention. Yeah, actually, what's the word? Is it the same word in Chinese?
干预, I would say that's intervention, but here it's 干涉, so it's interference.
Okay.
I think Chinese
usually
delegates always use this interference, but
like political intervention, that's 政治干预. Then in that context, in Chinese it's not going to be 政治干涉, but 政治干预. Then in English it's political intervention. And intervention, sometimes it's not like a foreign country intervenes. It can be within a country that maybe the government needs to intervene, like to step in. So I think it's a bit different.
Right. If the word is interference, then just stick with interference. Intervention is also a bit stronger. So
okay.
Like sending troops, that's
exactly.
Yeah, I was thinking of that.
You know what? If the word in Chinese, if you almost always render it as interference, then just say interference. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they use more this interference when
Okay.
about other countries' domestic
Yeah.
affairs.
Yeah, because it's 干涉, not 干预.
Okay, well then just stick
Yeah,
to that.
so-
That's fine then. That's fine.
Okay.
Then the other thing I was okay, so there's a couple of, you just have to be careful with your English a couple of times. You said here programmatic, okay, for pragmatic. And you
Yeah,
said here
pragmatic.
a syndrome, both the symptoms.
A
Symptoms.
symptom,
You said
yeah.
it sounds like syndromes.
I think
Syndrome.
I really wanted to. I said syndrome because I was thinking syndrome, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
symptom.
yeah.
Yeah, it's about disease. They were talking about like root causes.
I mean, it brings me. I wanted to just give one tip, because obviously it's extremely important for you in the Chinese booth, to have your English pronunciation as good as it can possibly be. I'm very lucky.
Yeah.
For me, it's not a big deal because I don't have to work into my foreign language. I just work into English the whole time.
Yeah.
But for you guys in the Chinese booth and in the Arabic booth, one thing if that's going to set you apart is is your pronunciation in your B language. It's if you get two speakers, if you're in an exam, and if the first thing that an examiner is going to notice is the accent. That's the first thing that's going to leave. It's like, oh, who sounds more English? And then maybe the person whose accent isn't quite as good has a much better vocabulary. And once you actually start listening more, the other person will start to impress you more. But yes, it's important that you get your pronunciation of words as accurate as possible. And so, especially if you're not I know neither of you live in an English speaking native environment. I mean, I don't know who your friends are, what language they speak, but I would definitely take every day, just read like a newspaper article, practice your pronunciation, check those words that you're not totally certain of the pronunciation for, just because that's really important that you get your pronunciation of English words.
Yeah, especially
spot on.
under pressure. Then you just, if you are not automatic, then it's a problem.
Take 10-15 minutes out each day just to read and just check your pronunciation. Yeah. Oh, how did that now? Oh, okay, let me just clear this. So here I would say, China again is a mediator of hotspot issues. Of hotspots, maybe you don't even need the issues of hotspots. As a responsible major country, China explores workable Chinese approaches to resolving hotspot issues. I'm saying workable, practical, good synonym.
I just want to add, workable is not really in the Chinese original.
Is that right? Okay. What's the word in Chinese?
There's no adjective.
Oh, there's no adjective, huh?
There is no adjective there.
Okay,
Yeah.
so they've just the translator's thrown in his own little bit.
I think so. 和践行, I think that's okay. The original is 中国努力探索和践行. My understanding is that there are two verbs here. So the verb that's translated here is explored. So that's 探索, the first verb. The second verb, 践行, I would say that's to practice, as in a verb. But here it's translated as an adjective, workable.
Right, to get that to get that nuance. And well, that's a sort of thing you just have to drop that, don't you? You just say, China explores Chinese approaches to hotspot issues. Yeah, I mean, I think it's perfectly valid also just to drop that resolve here, approaches to something. While adhering to the principle of non-intervention in others' domestic affairs, respecting the will and needs of the countries concerned, China, I would say, just helps settle hotspot issues in a constructive way. You don't need to have this endeavoring to try. Just say that it helps to settle hotspot issues in a constructive way. Our approach is to promote peace through negotiation. Full stop. It is both fair and pragmatic. It aims, full stop, right? It aims to address both the symptoms and root causes of hotspot issues. Yeah, this kind of thing, you can just break it up into smaller sentences and get rid of these lots of these little words. Okay, let's go on to the next paragraph.
I think,
Ukrainian crisis. It is important to start a dialogue and address the root of the problem. We need to build a balanced, effective, and sustainable security architecture. We call on all the parties to control the spillover effect and protect developing countries. Palestinian issue is the center.
Okay, stop. Okay.
I
Yeah.
think I missed some part because it was really quick. I just tried to have complete sentence.
What was this the first? Was this a first attempt? I mean, was it the first time or was it the second time you said that you'd listened to it?
I listened to it before. I didn't
Yeah,
read
you listened.
it.
Okay, you
I
listened to it.
once.
Yeah, and then you did it this time. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, so
yeah.
that's tough. Yeah, so you didn't really. It's all not quite a raw version, but close. So yeah, it's very forgivable to be skipping some of these parts. Is anything you want to say that you would have done better in this paragraph? Or?
I think what I missed was the first one.
Okay.
China supports all the efforts to resolve the Ukrainian crisis.
Okay, right.
Yeah, then the rest.
Had you fallen? You'd maybe fallen behind in the previous paragraph.
Yeah.
Huh? Right.
Yeah, and also the last one, because I said to control the spillover effect.
Yeah.
And protect the rights. I think I didn't say the legitimate rights of the developing countries. I just said protect the interests of the
adjectives are expendable. It's better to have them, but they are expendable. And if something's going to go, it's better the adjective goes than the noun. The noun is what's really important. Okay, the adjective is very nice. It's a cherry on the cake, but it is expendable. What was I going to say? Okay, supports efforts conducive to the, you can support all efforts towards peaceful resolution of the Ukraine crisis. So with any priority, just the priority, like we said before, you can use the emphasis in English, is to restore peace through negotiation, to achieve a fundamental solution. So if you're going to achieve a solution or resolution, maybe you could say resolution, but if you want the best, what's the best collocation with a solution? Can someone give better than fundamental?
I think they use fundamental because here literally said the solution that can treat the root cause.
Yeah, I think maybe to address the root cause.
Oh, okay. I mean, I was just going to say, if you've got a solution, you want lasting solutions. Generally, is the best. Okay, to achieve lasting peace, lasting solutions, because sometimes sustainable also works. But if you go from French, the word like durable, when they use durable, it's like most of the time it's sustainable, but with certain nouns, lasting works better with lasting peace or lasting solution. It's important, elision to address the legitimate security concerns of all parties. You can probably just drop the concerned, okay? All parties. Build a balanced, effective, sustainable security architecture. Again, drop some of these adjectives if you have to. A balanced, whichever. All right. Depending how far behind you are, you may need to drop one or two of these adjectives. We call on all parties. You said to control a spillover effect. I think you would say to prevent the crisis from spilling over. We call on all parties to prevent the crisis from spilling over and protect the legitimate rights and interests of developing countries. Legitimate, you could probably drop, and protect the rights and interests of developing countries. Again, if you're behind. Okay, then we had a paragraph on Korea.
I think you didn't want the Palestine.
That's right, Korea, because that's quite important.
Yeah.
In order to solve the Korean Peninsula nuclear issue, we need to address the root of the problem and follow correct steps. We need to keep peace and talk to each other. Afghanistan is in a
Stop.
critical.
How would you
Okay.
give me that paragraph just as a read through, as a sight translation now? How would you maybe do that paragraph differently now?
Resolve the
Yeah.
Korean Peninsula nuclear issue, it is important to address the root cause. We need to, here are two terms that I don't know, but I think this is the principle they have to resolve this issue, which are the dual track approach and take phased and synchronized
Phased, yeah.
steps. These are the, I guess these are the principles they
Yep.
need. It is imperative to safeguard the peace and the stability of the peninsula and resolve disputes through dialogue and consultation.
Resolve the dispute,
the
did you say?
issue.
Oh, the
I
issue,
said
the issue.
dispute. Yeah.
The issue, yeah, okay. The issue through okay. Okay, so resolve better than solve, as we said before. The Korean Peninsula nuclear issue. It's important to address the root cause. Is the dual track approach, is that the thing, Zoe?
Yeah, there's two
I think
things.
that's the standard translation. So this part, what's in the quotation marks, 双轨并行 and 分阶段同步走. It's something that if you know it, you can just say it. If you don't know it, there's no time for you to think of the translation.
Right.
Because it's just so dense. And yeah, it's kind of a shortened version. So 双轨并行, yeah, it's dual track approach.
So probably worth knowing, I guess, because Korea is
Yeah,
a
I
big
think
issue.
it's definitely worth knowing. And
Yeah.
this is obviously China's stance on these Korean Peninsula
I
issues.
think they say this when they're in the Security Council, when they talk about
Okay.
this
And
issue.
when they talk about non-proliferation.
Okay.
Yeah, true.
Then you said, okay, we should jointly, did you say uphold peace and stability?
I didn't. I think I said safeguard.
Oh, safeguard peace. Okay, yeah, maintain is often a good one as well. You know, maintaining international peace and security. So that's a collocation we often use. We should jointly safeguard peace and security on the Korean Peninsula. You know, under those circumstances, you could probably say there, because we know we're talking about the Korean Peninsula. So again, you have to think on your feet a bit. We should jointly maintain peace and stability there and resolve the issue through dialogue and consultation. So, and then like, look, these opportunities to edit, you know, it's important to address the root cause, phased and synchronized. I mean, I think one of those can happily go, right? Phased steps. We should maintain stability there. So we're going to turn that all into there. And resolve the issue through, again, dialogue and consultation, pretty much the same thing, isn't it? So this through dialogue is perhaps the more commonly, resolve the issue through dialogue is maybe, if we're going to be editing it, that would be the word to keep, dialogue. Okay, let's, now we move to Taiwan, don't we?
Directly? Oh,
Yeah.
how far will
The only interesting part here.
The only interesting part.
You should cut this part.
No,
I don't want to get into trouble.
No.
Mr. President.
No, okay, so here we go. Are you ready? Let's strap your seatbelts and everyone. This is where it gets juicy. Okay.
Dear colleagues, Taiwan has always been inalienable part of China's territory. China's sovereignty and territorial integrity has never been severed. The fact that China and Taiwan belong to one country shall not be changed. All the Chinese have continued on these efforts. 70 years ago.
Okay, stop that. Yeah. Let's have a look at that paragraph. One thing, just severed. Okay, that's pronounced severed. Okay, important to get the pronunciation right there. Severed. Like the adjective is severe, which is probably why you thought, but when we say it as a verb, severed. I mean, other than that, it was all good, I think. Any comments from either of you, or any? Was there anything?
Sorry, just something here. Like when the Chinese, I thought, like I stopped because I didn't know Chinese or Chinese people. Then I just all the Chinese, because they were all of us Chinese. I thought all the Chinese we have always continued on this effort, but
Oh, you said continue. See, I was going to say that have never ceased our efforts. So in English, it's probably, that sort of thing. It's better to maybe just flip into all of us Chinese continue our efforts to realize it. Just, it's easier to say in English.
Yeah, I wouldn't think of this.
Yeah.
Our.
So I would, since ancient times, you probably just say Taiwan
Has always been.
I think, Taiwan's always been an integral part of Chinese territory.
Or just China, perhaps. Do you think?
Oh, China's territory.
Oh, I was just saying, do you think it's okay to drop territory?
Territory.
Inalienable part of China.
Oh, I think maybe the territory specifically talking about
it's
the
more
land,
important here.
like le terroir. As they say, it's. I think he's particularly referring to the land,
yeah, the territory.
Right?
Yeah,
that's just my hunch that if you would say that he maybe wants to hear the territory.
Yeah, I would think that the Chinese delegate, in this case, the foreign minister, probably wants to hear the word territory.
Right.
It's also in Chinese. It's not just China in Chinese.
It's not. Yeah.
It's also territory.
Yeah. China's sovereignty, territory, integrity has never been severed. Full stop. The fact that the mainland and Taiwan belong to one and the same China has never changed. Maybe you could drop the same. I don't know. Maybe to one China has never changed. All of us Chinese continue our efforts to achieve. Maybe it's better in English. To realize China's reunification. Okay, go on. Let's scroll down.
On these efforts. 70 years ago, Cairo Declaration and the Potsdam Proclamation issued has announced that Japan has to return all the parts that it has taken from China, including Taiwan and the Penghu Islands. This is an important part of the international order of the Second World War.
Okay. The Cairo Declaration, Potsdam Proclamation. These are important rulings then, presumably to do with Taiwan or I mean, I've heard of the Potsdam Proclamation. The Cairo Declaration?
Yeah, they are both from the Second World War, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't use stolen. I was hesitating.
What was the word? What did you use?
I just said taken, but stolen was that. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, but in Chinese it's theft.
Okay, right.
Yeah. I don't know if the foreign minister started looking for it.
I didn't know what word would he would like to hear, so I just used taken because I didn't find the word.
I was just going to say, things should be restored to China. Okay, so I mean that was all fine. So yeah, okay. Now we're going to this is so again. This constitutes. You probably just say this is an important part of the post-war order. You could probably drop the international. I mean, it's like again almost implicit that it's international. Yeah. So it explicitly says in the Cairo Declaration, the Potsdam Proclamation, issued 70 years ago. Again, like when. You could that's the sort of thing you could perhaps leave out if you're in the trouble. Issued 70 years ago, it would still be a coherent sentence if you were to leave this out. Better to keep it in, right? But just in case you're falling behind, the old territories Japan stole from the Chinese, turn that into just past simple, stole from the Chinese, including Taiwan and Penghu Islands, should be restored to China. This is an important part of the post-war order. Okay, so now we come to Resolution 2758. Okay.
Let's see.
Okay.
58 was passed by an overwhelming majority, which decided that the PRC will lawfully taken its legitimate seat, and the representative of Taiwan will lose their seat. Some countries proposed dual representation, which was nothing but a piece of paper.
So 2758, possibly worth knowing. It's a very short resolution, right? Just explain what the resolution is about.
Oh, I thought, are you going to do it?
Well, I mean, I can read it out. I'll read it out to you. So Resolution 2758, restoration of the lawful rights of the People's Republic of China in the United Nations. The General Assembly, recalling the principles of the Charter of the United Nations, considering that the restoration of the lawful rights of the People's Republic of China is essential both for the protection of the Charter of the United Nations and for the cause that the United Nations must serve under the Charter, recognizing that the representatives of the government of the People's Republic of China are the only lawful representatives of China to the United Nations, and that the People's Republic of China is one of the 5 permanent members of the Security Council, decides to restore all its rights to the People's Republic of China and to recognize the representatives of its government as the only legitimate representatives of China to the United Nations, and to expel forthwith the representatives of Chiang Kai-shek from the place which they unlawfully occupy at the United Nations and in all the organizations related to it. And this was from the 25th of October, 1971. So do you have the Chinese version? Maybe it's worth reading out the Chinese version just so you can get a feel for the Chinese words that are in that, because I think this is an issue. Obviously, Taiwan isn't going away anywhere anytime soon. So
no, I don't think so.
it's probably
really
good to gradually, to be fully familiar with the, to be fully familiar with the some of the jargon. I know this business about is very important. The fact he talks about the representatives of Chiang Kai-shek and the fact that he doesn't, they don't use the name Taiwan. I mean, from what little reading I've done, you know, just to research this, that seems to be an important thing. That does it leave a slight door open, perhaps, for Taiwan?
I think the reason is that Taiwan wanted to refer to itself as the ROC.
Okay.
The Republic of China, not Taiwan.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why they don't use Taiwan. If they use Taiwan, then that means Taiwan alone is a country.
That would legitimize
Taiwan,
the use of name Taiwan.
Taiwan wanted to take back China, basically, because the capital of I shouldn't say Taiwan, the ROC is Nanjing. So that's on the mainland.
Was that right? I didn't know that.
Yes, so Chiang Kai-shek was kind of banished from the mainland. His government used to be in Nanjing, so on the mainland, but now they were banished to Taiwan. So that was the ROC, and their ambition was to retake the mainland. Right. I think that's why Taiwan is not
referred to specifically. Okay, just read it. So just could one of you just read it out in Chinese? Maybe Zoe, because you just.
I'm trying to find it. Let me try to read it.
You can read.
2758恢复中华人民共和国在联合国的合法权利大会，回顾联合国宪章的原则。考虑到恢复中华人民共和国的合法权利对于维护联合国宪章和联合国组织根据宪章所必须从事的事业都是必不可少的，承认中华人民共和国政府的代表是中国在联合国组织的唯一合法代表，中华人民共和国是安全理事会5个常任理事国之一，决定恢复中华人民共和国的一切权利，承认他的政府的代表为中国在联合国组织的唯一合法代表，并立即把蒋介石的代表从他在联合国组织及其所属一切机构中所非法占据的席位上驱逐出去。1941年10月25日。Yeah, I've read it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there you go. I would advise you, if that these are sort of this is a sort of thing you should maybe not know by heart, but certainly be familiar with them more.
In the coming years.
In it. Yeah.
Will be a hot spot.
So now where do we? Okay, so going back to the text, and if you could put the text back up, Pedro.
Yeah. I think I also missed the. I didn't come up with the word expel.
Okay.
Yeah, unlawfully taken seat.
Okay. That's actually taken from the. You see, that's taken from the resolution, isn't it? That bit about unlawfully, that they are unlawfully occupied. So this is the thing. They'll often, they'll quote specific vocabulary from the resolution. So that's why it's important to know it. Let me just find the my pen again. Let's see. Where do we get? So 51 years ago in this august hall. Always good to have a couple of another synonym for that. These hallowed halls. Okay. I often talk about this august assembly, these hallowed halls. August
So it's
assembly,
AA.
hallowed halls.
At church.
This is how this is, like for children, it's like
Alliteration.
children, but this is how I remember these sort of things. Okay, so you got to find techniques that help you remember this kind of thing. The General Assembly adopted Resolution 2758. So just for your own ease, I know this page and you said like 2,758. So usually in English we'll say that we'll split it up into 2758. Certainly with the Security Council resolutions, we always split it up that way. With an overwhelming majority, which decided it decided to restore the lawful seat of the People's Republic of China. You just said the PRC.
PRC.
That was a good acronym in the UN to expel the representatives of the Taiwan authorities from the place they had unlawfully occupied. There's not much stuff you can really delete in that section, so it's difficult. It's very dense, isn't it? And you need to be spot on with the vocabulary. The so-called dual representation. That's the official word for it, right? The official expression.
I think
dual
so.
representation. Yeah, you want to make sure you get that right. Put forth by the US, and maybe a few other countries and others. You could maybe say if you were just editing this, condensing this, to keep Taiwan's seat in the UN became a piece of waste paper. I guess you could just say it like that. Became null and void.
I was just going to say nullified.
Yeah, nullified. We would say to keep them was nullified. Yeah, was nullified. Became null and void is a typical
more
way.
legalese here. If you want to talk about like legitimate seat. Yeah. Lawful and unlawful. Yeah.
And then play. Okay, yeah, go on. So so finish that paragraph, Tejan. So if you just scroll down a bit so we can, and I'll clear.
758 has resolved politically, legally, and procedurally the representation of China in all the international organizations and the UN. Also attempt to create two Chinas or one China, one Taiwan has failed.
Okay.
Oh, this was very long.
Okay.
Yeah, this is so difficult. Yeah.
I mean, just a couple of things I would say there, again, politically, legally, and procedurally, if you're in a hurry, you've got to think about perhaps dropping one or two of those, in this case, adverbs, right?
Yeah.
Let's say politically and procedurally, whatever. The issue of the representation of the whole of China, including Taiwan, in UN and international institutions, it blocked any attempt by anyone or any country to create two Chinas or one China, one Taiwan. I was going to say blocked any attempt. It's good to have a couple of synonyms there. Thwarted any attempt. You're going into English. Frustrated any attempt.
I was going to say preempted.
Is that what it is? Is that the Chinese word?
No, it's definitely something that has not happened, but it's something that some
ward off.
Yeah, planning to, but they can't do it now.
Yes. Yeah. So this idea is preempted.
Yeah, I was going to say preempted.
Preempted any attempt. Yeah. But again, if that word, and I would struggle to come up with that word on the spot.
Yeah.
Well, if I say it enough times in the interpretation station episodes, maybe you'll be able to use it. But there you go. I mean, blocked any attempt is fine. Stopped any attempt. Okay. Let's go on to the next paragraph.
There are more.
Which is the one China,
There's two more, I think.
Yep.
4 minutes.
The One China principle has become a basic norm in international relations and a general consensus of international community. 180 One countries have accepted and recognized this principle. Taiwan is part of China. The government of PRC is the only legal representation of China. China will uphold one China principle. This is not only defend our sovereignty and territorial integrity, it is to safeguard the peace of Taiwan Strait as well. The non-interference principle is important for developing country. China will make all.
Okay.
Yeah, there is one thing like this last sentence is vital importance to the large number of developing countries.
Yeah.
This vital importance is like, because in Chinese here is to
安身立命
yeah, it's very hard for it basically means it's a important principle for developing countries to survive.
It's like
Okay.
the underlying, the fundamental thing that you have to have in order to survive. Or
Survive.
maybe
Okay.
for your legitimacy, something like that.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, the way they've said it, I mean, that is of vital importance. I can't think of anything better.
Yeah, this is good
Um,
actually.
It's a lifeline.
Yeah.
Have you heard that? It's a lifeline. I mean,
Mhm.
it's like the last thing that your lifeline is like
Yeah.
the last
Yeah.
possible thing that's keeping you alive. I don't know if that might work in this context. Perhaps you might hear it coming. This initiative has been a lifeline for us. You know,
Yeah.
we were about to go bankrupt or whatever, and we got this. You know, your offer is like a lifeline, maybe.
Yeah.
What else we going to say here? Yeah, so just the one China principle is a basic, yeah, again, this has become, is getting, you know, that's the kind of thing you can just turn into a simple, just is to be verb, you know, is a basic norm in international relations, a general consensus of the international community. By the way, with norm, always think norm, stand, and a standard, okay, they're more or less interchangeable synonyms. When entering into diplomatic relations with China, 181 countries, I think here recognized and accepted. I would probably delete, yeah, I would skip the second verb. All recognize there is one China in the world and Taiwan is a part of China, that the government of the people of the PRC is the sole legal government representing the whole of China. So yeah, the sole, I mean, this means like synonym for the only, but you know, they'll often talk about the sole representative, the sole legitimate body. It's
because
high.
before they had the dual
Right,
representative.
right.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Let's see, by firmly upholding, that's a sort of adverb that could probably be dropped. By upholding the one China principle, China is not only upholding, protecting its sovereignty, territorial integrity, but also truly, okay, just drop that, safeguarding peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait and non-interference in others' internal affairs, a basic norm of international relations of vital, get rid of that, is of vital importance to many developing countries, to the large number, yeah. That's the sort of best way to really synthesize that. Any questions from either of you there? Anything? How many countries have recognized Taiwan?
I have no idea, sorry.
That's all right.
But
Not a lot, not a lot.
I wonder if like this Taiwan Strait and how you call this thing between the UK and France?
Oh, the channel.
Like
the channel.
Yeah.
The English channel.
Yeah, we just tend to just call it the channel. We
You
don't
just
tend to
call it
say
the
the English.
channel.
Yeah.
This first time I saw this is officially called Taiwan Strait.
I've heard that used, the Taiwan Strait.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's definitely
but I
Taiwan
don't see
Strait.
the difference, channel and the strait.
Yeah, I think in English you want to be saying straight. I've heard that used. I think that's
Yeah.
they don't tend to hear the Taiwan channel. I haven't really heard that.
Yeah.
I think just a fixed, like, it's just a proper name, basically.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
And speaking of, I think Vatican has recognized Taiwan.
The Vatican has. You might be right. There are a few
the
countries that have recognized them.
Yeah, it's small countries. Yeah.
Okay,
I've
let's
heard
go.
of that.
Let's go. We'll do that. And this is going to be our last. We're going to stop with this paragraph. I think this is,
Okay.
yeah.
want
So China will
to-
continue. Let's big finish then.
Clear it
Yeah.
first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just a bit further. Just so
Okay.
just scroll down so we can see the whole.
Like this.
A little, yeah, like that. Okay.
Okay.
Efforts to achieve peaceful reunification. In order to achieve this purpose, we must combat Taiwan independence, separatist activities, and also fight against foreign interference. Only by fighting against the separatist activists, we would lay a solid foundation for the peaceful reunification. Any attempt to interfere in China's internal affairs is deemed to fail, and all the move to obstruct China's cause of reunification will be crushed. Mr. President.
Okay, and we'll stop there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's the last thing. Like here they said literally. I
Yep.
don't know if you say it in English. Any move
Yeah.
is bound to be crashed by the wheels.
By the
of
wheels of
history.
history. Good
You
Lord.
say this?
But it's in Chinese. Literally, that's the
Yeah,
image
yeah,
that
yeah. I mean,
the
this is the
speaker
thing.
wants to
Do
convey.
you, I mean, you know, if it was just a speaker speaking at a normal speed and that's what he said, and I couldn't think of a better idiom, maybe, sometimes you just do it, you just say what he says. If the best idiom suddenly comes to you in the moment in English, then go for that, because that can sound even better. But also, if you just don't know, you just leave it out. It's bound to be crushed. But
I stopped there because I wasn't sure if you would say by the way.
If you have the time, I would say in this case, if you have the time to say it, then say it. But if you're struggling, then don't worry. Here I'd say, China endeavors, again, this will continue to, again, you could probably just drop that. China is trying to achieve peaceful reunification with greatest sincerity and great efforts. Again, you drop one of these, I think, again, if given the speed the guy's probably going. I guess we'd say China's doing its utmost to achieve peaceful reunification. If you were to hear, as I see that whole sentence as a whole, again, that brings me back to just doing my utmost to achieve peaceful reunification. But obviously, when you're hearing the words come in the sequence they come in, then maybe you just have to say China endeavors to achieve peaceful reunification, with the greatest sincerity. To realize this goal, to achieve this goal, we must combat Taiwan independence separatist activities with the firmest resolve, with determination. We must, with determination, take the most, see that, and again, going back to what I was saying, or before these sort of ands get swallowed up, take firm steps, the most forceful. There's something like this, you could just say firm steps to repulse interference. To combat interference. Okay, I know we've used combat here already, but by external groups. This is tricky. I bet this is tricky in Chinese. Only by resolutely forestalling in accordance with the law, separatist activities can be forged a true foundation. Forestalling separatist activities. Standing up to. Yeah, that's tricky. What did you say again, Pejun?
I just said only by
resisting
against the separatist activity, we can lay a foundation.
Maybe resisting is the most versatile word to go for here, if nothing better, like forestalling.
Right, because the Chinese original is actually like combating. Is
that right?
Yeah.
Again, so again, if that's the word in Chinese, just use that word. Okay.
Combating.
Again, just because perhaps we've already used it twice in the previous sentence.
Or like cracking down on.
It's a bit cracking down on. Oh, that's very good. If you can come up with that in the moment. Curbing. That's a good one to have. Okay. Can we forge a true foundation for peaceful reunification? Only when China's completely reunified can there be enduring peace. Okay, instead of lasting, abiding. That reminds me of another. So enduring. When you talk about an enduring, this is an enduring symbol of something or other. Another synonym for that may be abiding, an abiding symbol. So those are there's three good synonyms: lasting, abiding, enduring. Maybe worth noting down. Any scheme, what did you say? You said any attempt, which is, I think, absolutely fine, to interfere in China's internal affairs is, you said doomed to fail, I think is what you were after. Yeah. Is doomed to fail. Okay. Is bound to meet strong opposition from all Chinese, full stop. Any move to obstruct China's cause of reunification is bound to be crushed by the wheels of history. Is bound to be, is destined to be, if you want, again, another synonym there. Okay. That was a lot of material there, eh?
A lot.
Yeah.
Are you all right? Is everyone okay?
Yeah.
The brain doesn't hurt too much.
Yeah, it's been an exhausting day.
It's been emotional, hasn't it? It's been emotional.
Emotional, but
After Messi, after that World Cup
I mean,
final,
Messi won,
I feel
so
like we
it's
just
fine.
played our own World Cup final here.
Yeah, I can endure. I can endure this, given that Messi has won.
You'll sleep well tonight. You'll sleep well tonight.
Definitely.
Guys, thank you very much for joining me, for being my buddies on today's show. Any final words from you, Zoe?
This is the last one from the before Christmas. Then
This may well. I think I don't. I think I'm going to maybe do another episode before the end of the year, because there's like exams for the English booth coming up, so I'm going to try and fit another one.
And
for
French
Christmas.
booth as well, right?
And the French booth as well. But yeah, it's getting close to the end of the year. But are there any final words from you, Zoe? Anything in particular that you've taken from from today?
Just be succinct.
Be succinct, yeah.
And drop things. Just be okay with dropping things and just move on. I think it's very important to know what to drop.
Yeah.
And drop it with confidence and just move on. Imagine you just delivering a presentation at high speed. Just think bullet points. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah.
Because if you try and replicate the style of the original, you're not going to be able to keep up. It's not going to work. So really just think about just getting across the key bits of information. Try and take these tips I've been giving you, these little micro shortcuts. Okay, they really will add up over the whole.
Because in the UN exam, you're not given a text. They only tell you the topic.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure if they tell the speaker. I don't think.
Yeah, they'll take the speaker.
They'll tell you the country, but
sometimes they'll give you some vocab as well.
Yeah, they will give you some vocab.
But you won't get the text. At least you won't get the text. So you're gonna have to try and.
How long you have when they tell you the topic and the country between?
You don't. You just basically take notes as I recall it. You just have to just take a note there and then, and then just cross just pray.
Yeah.
Pray to the gods.
Yeah, exactly. My hand was shaking when the examiner was like announcing the vocab. So I couldn't even write. I could barely write, and I couldn't recognize my own handwriting. Yeah.
What about you, Peijian? Any last words from you?
I think like for non-native speakers, it's never easy because you are not so sure if you are doing it correctly. If I would be in Chinese, I can play with the words and I know I'm always right grammatically.
Yeah.
But I think in English you should automate all the phrases that you can and drop the ones that you have to drop confidently. And on the other days, just study the pronunciation, the grammar. The more you prepare, the better.
Yeah. Yeah, practice your reading. Honest, I would really advise you to practice your reading every day, just for 10 to 15 minutes. Again, especially if you're not living in a native English speaking environment, it's really important that you just keep that level of English at a high level. try and say, do these site translations, think to yourself, what would Roland at Interpretation Station have dropped in this text? Think to yourself, what would I have dropped in this text that I'm reading here? But what can I drop and still make it coherent, what I'm saying? Just think about that. Guys, it's been a pleasure. Like, share, subscribe, usual drill. Comment, you got comments, any comments of your own, any suggestions, please do put them in the comments down below. It's goodbye from Zoe.
Goodbye.
It's goodbye from Pejun.
Goodbye and Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas.
Thank
Happy
you.
holidays.
Merry Christmas, happy holidays to everyone. If I don't see you before the Christmas Day. And all that remains to be said is that episode 156 of the Interpretation Station stands adjourned.
The train is now leaving the Interpretation Station. We hope you enjoyed your visit. Until next time.